Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you endorse. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you endorse. He's always on.
Are there words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control.
We think we have it very well under control. We pretty much shut it down. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle, it will disappear. We can hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000. It's a horrible number. We all together have done a very good job.
As the nation surpassed 4 million COVID cases and over 145,000 deaths this week.
It's something that we have tremendous control of. I think we're going to win faster than people think, I hope. You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. The virus is going to disappear. I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine.
The coronavirus itself, SARS-CoV-2, is here to stay.
As the U.S. surpasses a staggering 400,000 deaths, the incoming CDC director says another 100,000 could die in the next month.
It is what it is. It's going to fade away. We're in very good shape.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it a 10. I think we've done a great job.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Stilter.
How you like that, boy? You idiot.
Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. Wednesday. We're gonna have a show for you today. So, yeah, look, I got thoughts, and you're about to hear them. That's why you tune in. I know, weird thing to say. So, but look, we've got a couple of interesting stories. One involving Joe Rogan. So. Joe Rogan back, feeling better, and of course, you're never gonna believe who he credits for his miraculous recovery. Then we have, well, this is an interesting story. So now, I hammer a lot of people for disinformation, okay, especially when it comes to ivermectin. And when it comes to COVID-19, vaccines, etc., you all know. You listen to the show, you watch the show, you know what I'm about, okay? I'm going to give, not really a defense, so we can't really call it that. But I'm going to go after disinformation from the liberal side over ivermectin. Now, whoa, what are you talking about? Whoa. Hold on. Are you saying you're going to the horsey side? Of course, no, of course not. Of course not. Not going to the horsey side, but there is a fake story that's going around. A lot of major liberal outlets that is considered disinformation on ivermectin or related to ivermectin that I think is really important for me to discuss. So I'm going to talk about this because I think it is interesting to push back on disinformation when it comes from, it doesn't matter what source it comes from, okay? From people that I like, from the side that I'm a part of. It doesn't matter. Disinformation is disinformation, and disinformation is harmful. And you know, I do my best here to try to give you the truth, to try to stay within the realm of facts and reason. And so that's what I'm going to do this today. Not the dark horsey side. Well, I mean, maybe the dark horsey side, yes, but not so much the light, because I'm sure that's, not good. Yeah, breaking. Jeff endorses eating horse paste. Fun. No, we'll get into that. Again, disinformation from both sides. Not to say that both sides are equal on this, but there is disinformation going around, and that's important that I talk about that. Then, speaking of disinformation, we have Donald Trump once again going out and talking about how he actually won the election. He didn't lose. We won 2020, and what ramifications there will be for his eventual run in 2024. So we're going to do that. And then we got AOC going on and talking about the Texas abortion law and how disastrous it is, and gives a biology lesson that I think is really, really important. So, look, we got a good show. Please stick around. Like and share the stream if you haven't already. Super important that you do so. And why don't we, after this, why don't we just dive into it? All right, let's do it. Oh, you know what? I missed that joke, right? Am I going to the horsey side? Nay. Oh, God damn it. God damn it. I missed that joke. I just, that always happens. All right. You know what? Yes, I cannot be the only person that gets mad when you miss an obvious pun. Do better. Gotta do better. All right. Anyway. So a lot of right-wingers have been getting sick from COVID-19. Weird. Yeah, it's almost as if like the side that doesn't believe in vaccinations from COVID-19 is getting COVID-19. Oh, super weird, right? What a coincidence. And since they're getting sick, they've decided to turn to ivermectin as either a cure or as a preventative measure. Ivermectin is not an antiviral. It is an antiparasitic used as not only livestock dewormer, but also there are human uses. Basically, once again, treating things like, I think it was river blindness in humans, as well as lice and things like that. And so now conservatives are using this as not only a cure against COVID-19, but also as a preventative measure. Even though, of course, we do have a vaccine that is both safe and effective. In fact, over 2 billion people have been served by the vaccine with no mass deaths attributable to that vaccine, no weird mutations, no, iron skin, or I should say magnetic skin or anything like that. Yes, there's a handful of breakthrough cases, but overall, the science seems pretty settled on the effectiveness of vaccines, and it has been for a very long time. Vaccines are just good. They work. And by the way, among those who are now being hospitalized for COVID-19, more than 97% of them are unvaccinated, just to kind of show you how well they actually work. And among those who die of the disease, 99% are unvaccinated. And so, once again, the proof's right there in the data. It's right in front of our eyes. Right there. It's right there. It's right there. All right, so now, look, prevention is just better. it's better for you, and it's actually cheaper as well for all involved than it is to treat COVID-19 after you've already contracted it and have ended up in the hospital. Because it turns out that actually costs money here in America, where we have a system that crushes us every time we want to go to the doctor or the hospital. And so now, you want to talk about costs, like I said, the vaccine's free for all Americans, but those miracle cures that people keep touting online, well, those are going to cost you. But as I said before, the jury's in already. And yet, here comes Joe Rogan. So now, Joe Rogan last week put up an Instagram video. I'm going to show you part of that, where he says, like, hey, I got COVID. And then he's going to tell you how he was fighting it.
So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything. And I also got an NAD drip and a vitamin drip, and I did that 3 days in a row. And so here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great. I really only had one bad day. Sunday sucked, but Monday was better. Tuesday felt better than Monday, and today I feel good. I actually feel pretty fucking good.
All right, so Joe Rogan, he's feeling better. He's feeling better, right? Okay, well, Joe Rogan, he mentions that he threw pretty much everything at it, right? Well, Joe Rogan's a millionaire, so he can do that. He's wealthy, good for him, right? I don't have any issue with him being rich. He puts out a fairly entertaining show. I'm just saying that he can afford any remedy that he wants, whether it be doctor approved or not. You think like a doctor is going to turn down Joe Rogan when he asks for ivermectin? No, you're kidding me, right? Of course not. So now I wish that every American had healthcare, that they could, had free healthcare, and could be able to get whatever treatment is best for them. Okay, well, without cost. Insulin, for example. That would be great. Wonderful. So now, the point is, though, that not everybody can sit there and afford to throw everything, even stuff that doesn't work, like you're throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks. And that's essentially what he did with COVID-19. He got it. He panicked. He went, oh my God. I hear all this different stuff. Everybody's telling me all this stuff works. Let's just use it all. Throw it all in. Throw it all in. We'll see what works. And so, again, I guess you could see the result. He feels better. I'm glad he recovered. Wonderful. Right? Now, the problem here is that he is crediting to this to ivermectin specifically. Because of course he did. In fact, when he was on with his guest, Tom Segura, he talked about how it was the ivermectin that worked.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know, do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor. It's an American company. Mm-hmm. They won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for use in human beings.
Yeah.
And CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Yeah, what? So
they must know that that's a lie.
So who said, or did you already want ivermectin?
Well, I had this guy on, Dr. Pierre Corey, and he is what is the organization he's from? Frontline COVID Critical Care Workers. He's well-established doctors, treated thousands of people with COVID, and they've early on in the pandemic they found some good efficacy with ivermectin.
No, they didn't. Again, there's no evidence here that ivermectin did anything to actually help. Again, he tossed everything he could at it. The monoclonal antibody treatment, for example. Hey, that's one of the things that has been shown to be effective in patients with high risk of progression of the virus. At best, you can't really say the ivermectin did a whole lot. Why? Because, look, ivermectin, for one, is not an antiviral, okay? It's specifically made to fight parasites. Again, that's why in human use, it goes after parasites, worms. That's why it's also not only horse dewormer, but also dewormer for your dog. Stuff like that. That's what it does. And understandably, the reason they won the Nobel Prize for this is because of that usage as an anti-parasitic. That has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not it can be effective against COVID-19. Okay? Now, what's also interesting about this is that, look, anything can kill viruses if it's, I should say almost anything can kill viruses if you put enough of it into your body. That's one of the effects of ivermectin. Turns out that if you take enough of it, it will not only kill COVID-19, but also you in the process. In fact, at very high doses, it does show some antiviral effects. The doses and concentrations, however, necessary for this activity are much higher than what are safe for humans and would be toxic to both COVID-19 and human life in general. So that's why it hasn't been proven to effectively treat or prevent COVID-19. You would just have to take so much. It's like drinking bleach. Like, yes, it'll kill the virus, but it'll also kill you. Very likely. And so, again, we go back to the best treatment for COVID-19, which is prevention. And that prevention is gained through a vaccine. In fact, CNN medical analyst Dr. Jonathan Reiner said this last week about ivermectin. It doesn't work. I wish it worked. It would be great if it worked. It's an old drug. It's a cheap drug. It would be fantastic if it worked. It doesn't work. We know that. Yes. And here's the thing. If it worked, like the monoclonal antibodies, then we would be ecstatic. Great. One more weapon in our arsenal to defeat COVID-19. Great. We would celebrate. We would celebrate. Now, the reason we're celebrating the vaccines is, guess what? Because they work. But again, ivermectin doesn't. The major paper touting the benefits is undergoing currently an ethics review for incredibly shoddy practices in gathering their data. Gross representations of the benefits. I've read it. They claimed that 100% of the patients were cured, had a very small sample size. The names of people that were in the study that were claimed to be patients were dead people. All of that is super suspect. And not only that, but one of the main studies, and he referenced that doctor, Dr. Pierre Corey, is that, look, in some of the studies that have shown potential promise, use cell cultures in petri dishes. This is in vitro data, right? So now any positive findings have not been replicated in vivo in actual human subjects. So yes, they can take a petri dish and pour a bunch of ivermectin in it, and at a high enough concentration, it'll kill the virus. But human beings are not petri dishes. And if you put too much of anything in us, it'll kill us. That is the problem. Okay, that's the issue. And so now this reminds me of the hydroxychloroquine craze, when the same people were saying pretty much the exact same thing, this time about hydroxychloroquine. And now the new hotness is ivermectin. And the two situations are related because, again, they were looked at two potential treatments and were ended up being dismissed for similar reasons. And you had the same, faulty science on this, the misapplication of in vitro science. Okay. So that said, Dr. Pierre Corey went on to Joe Rogan's show and claimed, no, we got this. No, it's great. But it's not. Look, and Pierre Corey is part of a group called the Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance. That is another group that is like America's Frontline Doctors. Both groups are actually fairly shady and try to present themselves as actual medical professionals, which they are not. According to certain to reports, their members often do not work clinically, meaning they don't actually have credentials to practice medicine in any hospital settings. This is like Rand Paul claiming, oh, no, I'm a doctor. You're an ophthalmologist, and you're not even practicing. Sit the fuck down. You're not an actual expert on this. You're not actually practicing. You're not a real doctor. Same thing with these people. They don't actually treat COVID-19 patients. All right? And also, funny enough, the founder of the FLCCC, who is currently not affiliated with any healthcare institutions, recently disclosed that he and his family caught COVID. Oops. That's despite taking his ivermectin protocol. So he used it as a prophylactic, and guess what? He still got COVID, and his entire family. As far as the AFLD, well, I've covered that before. There's only one thing to say about that, and that's the demon sperm lady, the woman that Dr. Stella Emanuel, who came out and claimed that, and by the way, this is before pushing hydroxychloroquine and now ivermectin. She had claimed that ovarian cysts were a result of having sex with demons. So yeah, and by the way, the reason that I bring them up, because that group is selling ivermectin prescriptions online. That seems to be a bit of a conflict of interest. Oh, we think this drug is fantastic, and by the way, we are now selling it. Wait, so you could either buy that, which has no evidence backing it up, that it actually is effective against COVID-19. Sure, if you got a problem with lice, go ahead and take it. But if you've got a problem with COVID, you probably shouldn't. But they're saying, no, we're not only saying you should, but we're selling it as well and telling you not to get the free vaccine. Come on. Come on. And look, and here's the other thing. So Joe Rogan comes out and he says, well, look, I got it from a doctor. My doctor prescribed it to me. You realize that there are a lot of telemedicine and private providers that can prescribe and dispense medication. So it's actually not that difficult to find someone out there who is willing to prescribe you a human dose of ivermectin online, if you're willing to pay. Again, in lower doses. Again, it has no effect on COVID-19, but it also generally has limited side effects, again, depending on how much you take, right? And so now, that's if you're willing to find a provider or that provider online is willing to prescribe it for you, there's that. Now, if you're someone else and you're unaware of all this, then you might actually be one of the ones that are raiding the Tractor Supply and feed stores in order to get your hands on a off-brand, or not really shouldn't say off-brand, but a non-human version of ivermectin, which of course you have to be really, really careful as it's much more concentrated. So, and again, there have been a handful of ivermectin-related calls to poison control hotlines, and of course, you all remember the same thing happened with hydroxychloroquine. So I have one more video here. And Joe Rogan's going to go after, the media. Now, originally, I think it was more of like a tongue-in-cheek statement, but he said, well, I'm going to have to sue CNN. I think you're one of those free speech guys. Wouldn't that be antithetical to your beliefs to sue CNN? Whatever. Nonetheless, here's his critique. Take a look.
But what they didn't highlight is that I got better.
Yeah, you got better quickly.
They try to make it seem as if like I'm doing some wacky shit that's completely ineffective. And
right.
CNN was saying that I'm a distributor of misinformation. You know, there's a lot of speculation. One of the speculations involves the emergency use authorization for the vaccines. That in order for there to be an emergency use authorization, there has to be no treatment for a disease.
Right.
So because there is this treatment in ivermectin, and there's other treatments too.
Right.
Because of this, there's a lot of pushback against potential treatments and pretending that they don't really work or that they're conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
This is the grand conspiracy, right? The grand
Right.
conspiracy is that the pharmaceutical companies are all in cahoots to try to make anybody who takes this stuff look crazy. But what's crazy is look how better I got.
Yeah.
I got better pretty quick, bitch.
All right, so for one, the FDA has fully approved the COVID-19 vaccine for everybody 12 and over. So it's no longer in emergency use. You know why? Because it actually works. So that whole line of reasoning just got blown the fuck out of the water. But on to the other points. So this right there, the entire segment is why he's being called the distributor of disinformation by CNN. You just speculated that there could be this big giant conspiracy by the drug companies that make the vaccines, okay, to then give to people for free in order to suppress the supposed real treatment, which you can get after you're sick, you know, generally. But either way, I guess you can get it before you're sick, but you still have to pay for it. And these companies also, you know, manufacture this as well. and that actually makes them more money when you get sick, because then, you know, the treatment always tends to cost more than the prevention. And when you really kind of look at all this stuff, it just really like falls apart. Like the whole argument, everything he said was a gigantic house of cards that just fell over. There's no sense at all. Look, the bottom line is, once again, ivermectin has no preventative qualities against COVID-19 or treatment. It's not made for that. Simply put, his conspiracy, and that's what this is, it's a conspiracy, makes no sense. And then, of course, follows it up with his own personal anecdote of like, well, I got better, bitch. Well, that's not evidence. That's not evidence. And by the way, there was a part that I cut out, right? And so, you know, people are probably going to get on me for that, but I cut it out for time because this segment's already super long. But he then quotes, allegedly, the Japanese government, right? The Tokyo Medical Association. So he said, well, look, it's the Japanese government. The Japanese, I mean, so, well, they've been promoting the use of ivermectin to all COVID patients, so it must be safe. I mean, what are they doing differently than America? Well, that's not true at all. When you look into the details, yes, the chairman of the Tokyo Medical Association, Haruo Ozaki, did cautiously support using it as treatment. But it should be noted that neither he nor the Tokyo Medical Association are in any way affiliated with the Japanese government. So you could go back to Demon Sperm Lady and make the same argument for her, right? Well, you know, Dr. Stella Emanuel, part of this prestigious group of doctors, you know, they promoted ivermectin. They must be part of the American government, right? The United States government obviously, you know, promotes the use of ivermectin. No, they don't. No, they don't. See, that's the thing. They're in no way affiliated with the Japanese government. And members of the organization can only provide private recommendations. Okay? The official guidelines for doctors from the Japanese Ministry of Health states that compared to standard treatment and placebo, ivermectin did not reduce deaths, shorten hospitalization periods, and improve time of virus disappearance. It doesn't work. So pretty much everything Joe Rogan has said is flat out disinformation. And yet he's mad at CNN. Look, I got my own issues with CNN. I got my issues with corporate media and the pharmaceutical industry. But Joe Rogan is not a doctor. Joe Rogan is a meathead podcaster. He is an entertainer. And look, he's good at entertaining. He ain't so good at informing. All right? And you shouldn't be taking medical advice from him. Unless, of course, it's something to do with, like, weightlifting or whatever, right? Or MMA. Well, there you go. MMA diet by Joe Rogan, right? Great. That's your lane. That's your lane. Stay in your lane. But, I think that if he's going to do this, he might as well platform actual real medical professionals that have followed the science in COVID-19. And that's it. And the thing is, what he's doing right now is dangerous. He is hurting people. People will die. And he either thinks that he's doing the right thing, or maybe he doesn't care. I don't know Joe Rogan personally. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe he does care, and maybe he just, believes anything that comes across his desk. I don't know. But what I do know is that he is actively doing harm, massive harm. He's got millions of listeners a day, and he's doing real harm against fighting this in the fight against this pandemic. All right. So we go from one side of the disinformation sphere to another story here of corporate media putting out some disinformation on ivermectin. So this is interesting. Am I not the most fair show in the entire planet? All right. So there's a lot of disinformation floating around about ivermectin. Ivermectin, of course, is an anti-parasite drug that is used on livestock, dogs, as well as humans. There's a human version that is used to cure river blindness and head lice and things like that. And so, look, it's effective at being an anti-parasitic, not so effective at fighting COVID-19. And yet, the right wing, and I cover this a lot in regards to the right wing pushing the drug for COVID-19, that has just not been proven to be effective against COVID-19. So with that in mind, corporate media has also fallen to a bit of its own disinformation about this. And so on September 6th, a local Oklahoma news outlet, KFOR-TV, reported that there were so many people in the state were overdosing on ivermectin that emergency rooms and ambulance services were backed up. According to the report, Dr. Jason McEllier said patients are packing his eastern and southeastern Oklahoma hospitals after taking ivermectin doses meant for a full-sized horse because they believed false claims the horse dewormer could fight COVID-19. The article then quotes McEllier saying, the ERs are so backed up that gunshot victims were having hard times getting to facilities where they can get definitive care and be treated. So you hear that and think, oh my God, the people are eating the horsey paste, and there's so many people eating the horsey paste that they are clogging up the entire medical system, and not even gunshot victims can get through. Well, before I get to the reality of the situation, multiple news outlets picked up this story. They ran with it. I looked at that and I was like, I don't know. Rolling Stone picked it up. The Guardian picked it up. Business Insider, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow also picked up the story. So now that said, is this something that's believable? Well, so look, have you seen our news cycle? Have you paid attention to the insane stuff that is actually true, that is actually going on? There's insane things going on all the time. I mean, just look at any story involving Florida man. It's kind of a phenomena, and we are surrounded by so much information that sometimes it could be hard to parse out what's true, what's not, and what actually may be an embellishment of the truth, or not quite there, or drawing incorrect conclusions, or doing correlation between stories. There are issues like that. Okay, so now I think it's my job to kind of step back and think. And sometimes, look, I've made mistakes. There was a story where I had casually mentioned that I'd seen some memes, some posts of people that took ivermectin that crapped themselves. Turns out that was a troll. And I'm being honest about that because sometimes that stuff happens and that the sensationalism kind of gets to you a little bit. And you think, well, obviously, right? Are people crapping themselves to ivermectin? Not as many as you would believe. Are people flooding the emergency rooms by taking horsey paste? Not as many as you'd think. And so, again, thousands of people, I don't think thousands of people are rushing to feed stores. Hundreds, probably. Handful, could be. And I have showed you that there are places that have certainly run out or run low on their stock of people picking this up. And so it is a phenomenon that is actually happening. That said, there is disinformation from this story, and I want to get to more of that. So now, as the story is gaining traction, the large hospital that McElhinney was affiliated with put out a statement on its homepage denying the doctor's claim, saying that Dr. McElhinney has not worked at our Salisal location in over 2 months. NHS Sequoia has not treated any patients due to complications related to taking ivermectin. This includes not treating any patients for ivermectin overdose. All patients who have visited our emergency rooms have received medical attention as appropriate. Our hospital has not had to turn away any patients seeking emergency care. All right. So they added, we want to reassure our community that our staff is working hard to provide quality health care to all patients. We appreciate the opportunity to clarify this issue. As always, we value our community support. And as the Columbia Journalism Review points out, many noted that in his original interview with KFOR, McElhinney hadn't actually said anything about ivermectin cases crowding out other patients, but that the initial story and subsequent coverage had linked separate comments about ivermectin overdoses and scarce beds. So now they link two things that are sort of tangentially related, but again, there's no causation here, right? There's correlation, and so there is a shortage of beds in places that are being hit hard by the Delta variant. And that is due not to ivermectin overdoses, but actually to unvaccinated COVID-19 patients. And so 97% of all COVID hospitalizations are among the unvaccinated. And so there are hospitals in Florida that have reached near capacity in their ICUs. They're filled to the brim with COVID patients. Many of these medical professionals are at their breaking point. And so understand that those two things are related to COVID-19, but again, one is not the cause of the other. The hospitals are not filled with with people taking ivermectin and overdosing on it and having to go to the hospital. So now there are numbers, and I'm going to give you those numbers, because there are cases of people taking ivermectin and ended up going to the hospital with poisoning. But they are very different from what's going on. Look, and by the way, there are also cases where non-COVID patients had to be turned away from hospitals because there are so many COVID patients that have clogged up the hospital system. It's a big, big problem, but it is not. That does not mean because people have overdosed on ivermectin. In fact, the numbers here, the New York Daily News on September 2nd published a story where the managing director of the Oklahoma Center for Poison and Drug Information, Scott Schaefer, had said that since the beginning of May, they've received reports of 11 people being exposed to ivermectin. So now that's 11 reports of overdoses of ivermectin in the entire state. So now, don't go and take the horsey paste, okay? Don't do that because it actually doesn't help with COVID-19. But understand that 11 cases of ivermectin poisoning is a far cry from the number of actual unvaccinated patients, COVID patients, that are taking up hospital space. And so I think that's important to point out. And I also think it's important for people who reported falsely in the story to put out a correction. Now, Rolling Stone did just that. They put out a correction, an update to their article, citing the information that cast doubt in the story. But as of right now, The Guardian has not issued a retraction or updated their article. And of course, the tweet promoting Rachel Maddow's story happens to still be live. The KFOR article has not been updated either. So there's another additional note here from the Columbia Journalism Review. They write, the statement that there had been no ivermectin cases came from a single Oklahoma hospital. And while McEllier wasn't working at the particular hospital when he made his comments, he had worked there previously and works for an agency that provides services to various local hospitals, writes CJR's Matthew Ingram. McEllier also stated in his original interview that there had been some ivermectin overdose cases in the hospitals he was familiar with, although he didn't say these cases had taken ICU beds away from other patients. He has since told another Oklahoma news outlet that he had been misquoted by KFOR. So this is an example of the false cause fallacy. They presumed that a real or perceived relationship between these things meant that one is the cause of the other. Oh, there's so many people that are overdosing on the horsey paste, and that's why the hospitals are crowded. No. Again, hospitals are crowded because people won't get vaccinated and would rather take ivermectin instead. They take the ivermectin, even in safe doses, and they get COVID anyway. And then some of them get hospitalized as a result of the COVID. So yes, there is relation here, but again, it's the common cause here is COVID-19. And so now look, the FDA says that ivermectin has not been approved for the use of treating and preventing COVID-19 in humans. Ivermectin tablets are approved for humans at very specific doses for some parasitic worms, and there are topical formulations for head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. Ivermectin is not an antiviral, and there is evidence that the level of ivermectin needed to kill COVID-19 in the human body would end up actually killing the host. So you would need to take an ungodly amount of it. And so, not good. So don't take the horsey paste or the human version for COVID-19. It's just not effective for that. Okay? I'm trying to make a good comparison. It's like jabbing yourself with insulin for having a toe that hurts. Those two things, not really related. I mean, especially if you stubbed your toe. Okay, that's not going to be effective. Yes, the insulin is effective if you're a diabetic. All right. And yes, the ibuprofen is effective when it comes to actual pain. And so, again, if you stub your toe, take an ibuprofen. If you want to prevent COVID-19, you get a vaccine. That's how that works. And so, look, get the vaccine. And media, do a better job. Okay? It's tough enough to get people to believe in facts and to trust media when they do this, when they go overboard on some of these stories. And again, I've done it too. And so I'm not, I'm not really living in a glass house because I'm also throwing house at, I'm throwing glass at or rock at my own house to try to actually make that analogy. And so, look, do better. And I'm not saying, and by the way, I'm not saying they're less trustworthy than certain podcasters and media figures. No. The media is more trustworthy than them on issues of factual information. And when it comes down to it, this is a fairly small oversight and not nearly as bad as promoting drugs that don't work for that specific thing. But it does hurt credibility and makes the job of actually getting real factual information out a lot more difficult, because then people will get confused and then they don't believe it. We saw the same thing with the masks. There were people out there in the government at the time that were saying, "Oh no, we don't need masks. Yeah, no, it's fine." And some of them were even doing it in an effort to try to save them from medical personnel. But then later on recommended masks, and now there's this confusion about masks. And so the whole point is media needs to be more careful in making sure that they don't fall victim to doing their own fake news, because it really is important to try to get things right. And, if you do get it wrong, just correct yourself. That's all. All right. All right. It's throwing stones and not right. I know I butchered that so badly, but y'all know what I mean. Go to Trump. Speculation continues to swirl about Donald Trump running against Joe Biden in 2024. So now Politico has reported that there's been a flurry of activity from Trump's main political committee, as well as certain hints dropped, private conversations with confidants and advisors. And they say that means that Trump is signaling a heightened interest in running in 2024 to reclaim the White House against Joe Biden, and is laying the necessary groundwork in order to do it. So their examples go towards pointing out that less than a month ago, the PAC supporting Trump announced that it hired top operatives from Iowa, dedicated to advancing Save America's goals of enacting strong pro-Trump, America First conservatives. The Iowa staffers also served another purpose. Trump advisors say they can keep an eye on the other potential Republican presidential candidates, funding the first in the nation caucus state. You really wouldn't do that unless you were exploring a possible run. Aaron Blake of the Washington Post also noted that Trump, banned from posting on social media, had sent 2 emails to reporters, only 2 minutes apart. The first one announced an October 9th rally at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines. The second had a subject line reading, "We cannot trust mail-in ballots. This is a very sad day for the more than 75 million Americans who voted for me and the 15 million Americans whose ballots were not counted." Trump was referring to the 15 million unreturned ballots as uncounted ballots, which, again, that's not a thing. Unreturned means, yes, they were sent out, but nobody filled them. Nobody filled them out. Nobody actually used those to vote, and they just are probably sitting in a landfill somewhere, very likely. And so, look, there's more. Okay. Trump also called into Newsmax personally, and once again, spread the big lie. First saying that, he won the 2020 election, and then more insane things about California and vote rigging. Let's take a look.
Well, I beat him in 2020. I mean, I think we won the election by a lot. I don't even think. You look at the numbers and you look at what happened on that incredible, fateful period of time, because it's unfortunately not a one-day vote. It takes place over a long period of time. We did great, and a lot of things are coming out now. You're seeing them with the absentee ballots and all of the things that they did. It's a disgrace. Well, it's probably rigged. They're sending out all ballots. It's all the ballots are, mail out, mail in ballots. In fact, I guess you even have a case where you can make your own ballot. When that happens, nobody's going to win except these Democrats. So, look, they're very good. The one thing they're good at is rigging elections. So I predict it's a rigged election. Let's see how it turns out.
Make your own ballots. Is that like a Build-A-Bear, but for elections? Weird. Okay. So now, again, 2 different pieces of that interview where it's rigged elections. Oh! Okay, here's the thing. You didn't win. The Electoral College vote was 306 to 232. Biden won the popular vote by 7 million. If anybody was actually trying to rig the election, it would be Donald Trump. For one, Republicans have been, massively in favor of voter suppression. They've used voter suppression throughout not just this election, but many, many other elections. I've been talking about that all the time, and how Republicans don't want more people voting. They want less people voting, because when less people vote, especially black people, tend to win more. And of course, you count gerrymandering, although to be fair, both sides do gerrymandering to some extent. So now there's that. Okay. But as far as Trump personally getting involved, well, remember, he had called some secretaries of state, including the one in Georgia, to try to pressure them to find enough votes for him to win. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than what we have because we won the state. Well, okay, for one, you wouldn't need to find additional votes. You had actually won the state. Just saying. And +1, by the way, +1. We had to find one more than that so that I could actually win. Not shady at all. Come on. So now, how does all this relate to 2024? Well, that's where it gets dangerous. See, he's playing the same playbook that he's played in 2016, 2020, all right? Voter fraud, illegitimate election. I didn't lose, I won bigly. Okay, but every recount, every audit so far that has been legitimate has shown the opposite. That no, you didn't win, you lost, and everything matches up. And then who knows what the hell the cyber ninjas are doing over in Arizona? I mean, there's drama on drama on that entire thing. Disaster. And of course, Mike Pillow, his symposium once again proved absolutely nothing. I mean, wow. So look, the thing is that he sounds like the rantings of a child throwing a temper tantrum. And you could stop there. You could just write that off and be like, whatever, child, baby, sad. But then you take into account January 6th. And then you start to think, oh no. So now we know why January 6th failed. Nobody knew what the hell they were doing. Obviously. And the second reason, they didn't have guns. Now, that's why there is talk on people on Trump's side saying, okay, well, next time I guess we'll have to bring guns. I mean, you don't think that there's a chance that something like that could happen again, January 6th? Only this time people are armed? Again, y'all didn't think that it would happen the first time, but it did, and it was driven by this same rhetoric. They're rigging elections. They're coming in. They're stealing the votes. They're destroying your country. The immigrants, they're coming to replace you. Okay, when you're exposed to that rhetoric, that sort of existential, what would be existential crises, what do you think the result of all that's going to be on your mental state, on your psyche, on what you could possibly do? I mean, especially for a side that is steeped right now in conspiracy theories and surrounded by guns. Now, that's important because if this guy runs again and he loses, I have worries that all hell's going to break loose. Because again, they'll say the same thing they're saying now. It was rigged, it was rigged, it was rigged, it was rigged the second time. Look at the polls. The polls are so bad for Joe Biden, and yet somehow he won. Rigged. So that's my concern. Okay? So now, if only there had been a way to prevent Trump from running again as a result of what he did, tried to pull on January 6th. Oh, wait. Turns out there was the 14th Amendment, specifically Section 3. Section 3 notes that no person shall hold any United States or state office who, having previously taken an oath as an officer of the United States to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the United States or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. So now, okay, I mean, did he personally engage in an insurrection? Perhaps debatable. Okay. But before I get into more of that, let me just give you some examples of when this was actually used. So it was used after the Civil War to prevent former Confederates from serving in the United States government. Oh, that makes sense, right? You literally try to rebel against the country. Yeah, of course, we're not going to let you serve into office. Are you nuts? And it was also used as late as 1919 against Victor L. Berger, a socialist from Wisconsin who had taken the oath as a prior member of Congress from taking office in the House of Representatives following his speeches in opposition to the nation's entry in World War I. I actually agree with Victor Berger on this one, being an anti-interventionist as I am. But they used it against Confederates, and they also used it against the socialists. So so they can use it. And that's really the point that I'm trying to make, is that it has been invoked before, and it can get invoked again. And so Trump, again, arguably was involved with the process of leading that march to Congress. We're going to march down, Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to fight like hell, or you're not going to have a country anymore. Okay, and this is where they might be able to get him on this one. Trump's statements during and immediately after the attack in the Capitol, including telling the rioters that we love you, you're very special, I know how you feel. Well, and that could be argued as giving aid or comfort to insurrectionists, the people who stormed the Capitol. So now, look, Democrats could have done this. They could have invoked this and tried to see where it went. But no, they decided not to, and left it solely up to Republicans to prevent Trump from doing the same thing that he did before. Yeah, I know. Laugh along with me. You're going to rely on the Democrats, the weak, feckless Democrats, to prevent Donald Trump from, running again and possibly leading another, this time probably even worse, insurrection attempt. In fact, here's Democratic strategists. All right. This is Eddie Vail. He said, for better or worse, there's absolutely nothing any Democrat can say or do that is going to change Trump's behavior, and any attempt to do so will be as impactful as farting into a tornado. Well, I mean, fair enough. That certainly is true as far as, Democrats are involved, but you could also have done the 14th Amendment, Section 3, using an up or down vote, since you have the majority. I mean, you would be able to do that. But nonetheless, his whole point is, nothing we could do. Can't fix it. Sorry. Going to the Hill, there's a quote here, which says that Democrats say that they've done all they could do to keep Trump at bay. They point to impeachment proceedings earlier this year as the best thing they could do to stop him from running, which, of course, was never going to work. It was never going to stop him from running. Republicans were never going to vote to impeach the president, not only impeach the president, or at least prevent him or hold him accountable and prevent him from running in 2024, which is what impeachment would have done after he had left office. More. This is Democratic strategist Joel Payne saying, I don't think there's anything further than Democrats can do. But honestly, it's less about Democrats and it's more about Republicans. The conscientious Republican objectors had their moment if they wanted to sweep Trump out of public life, and they decided not to. Gee, I wonder why that is. Oh, right. Republicans love Trump. They adore him. And let's be honest. Democratic politicians, some of them, also love Trump. Because as long as they have the specter of Donald Trump, they can use him to be a boogeyman, and they can fundraise off him. And they can also blame him for all the problems, even stuff that they could actually do. Oh, what can I do? Trump. 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 And now a lot of people also forget that back in 2016, Democrats had used the Pied Piper strategy in order to elevate Donald Trump because they thought, well, there's no way Hillary Clinton could lose against that guy. And then, oh no, somehow we lost against that guy. No kidding. And I was one of the ones who, many on independent media, who called that one. There's more. Another Democratic consultant, Michael Trujillo, this was earlier this year, said this. And by the way, this is somebody who worked on Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. He said, "I'm all in for another Trump run." Quote, "Democrats got more votes in 2016 and 2020 than President Trump. So consider me all in for Trump 2024. We have shown the country what kind of real bad loser he is. So if he wants to lose again, then we will happily give him exactly what he wants." These Democratic strategists are terrible. They're the dumbest people on earth. I mean, here's the thing. Trump is a danger. Republicans love him. They're going to turn out in droves, runs in 2024. And look, this is Biden's election to lose now. All right? If Biden doesn't deliver on campaign promises, then he is in danger of losing. And so, look, infrastructure, the public option. What happened to the public option? Right? What happened to controlling COVID? We have the unvaccinated that have caused a gigantic spike in Delta variant cases. We got climate change. We got the economy. You got millions of people who just lost unemployment insurance. You got others who, thanks to the Supreme Court, are being evicted. And it's happening under Biden, so of course people are going to blame Joe Biden. And so you've got COVID. Again, Biden's infrastructure bill being held up by members of his own party. These aren't Republicans that are blocking, these are Democrats. You got Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema. And so not only that, but right now, Joe Biden's polling, his approval ratings are not good, are not doing well. He's doing pretty badly. And look, a lot of that is as a result of irresponsible media coverage over the Afghanistan withdrawal. I think Afghanistan pulling out was a right thing to do. But of course, the media, corporate media loves war. They've never met a war they didn't like. And so, you know, they've been hammering Biden on this, on the Afghanistan withdrawal. And also the Republicans have been hammering him on the Afghanistan withdrawal, despite previously supporting it when Trump was pushing it. And so now, look, I know it's early. I know polling could change. We've got a lot of time before 2024, obvious. So a lot can happen. That's not so much the worry there. The midterms are coming. And that is important because if Republicans win back the House and the Senate in these midterms, which is 2022, well, then that's it. We're done. We're done. Biden's, after that, Biden's a lame duck. And if he gets nothing done, he could lose. And of course, there are things that he could do, not only, with Congress, of course, if they push to eliminate the filibuster, which he has not. He has not been pushing in pressuring Joe Manchin to get rid of the filibuster. But also there's things that he could do on his own. The aforementioned student loan debt cancellation he could do today. And that would be a fairly big deal. But right now, a lot of his agenda is being stalled by members of his own party. And so that's not good if you, again, lose the midterm elections, lose control of the House and the Senate, you get nothing done because Republicans will block every single thing. And you're a lame duck until 2024. That's a bad situation. You do not want to be in that situation. And so, and look, if that happens and somehow Trump decides to run and then actually loses to Joe Biden again, well, this is Trump priming his base, his fan club, for that scenario, so that possibly next time they'll be prepared to not fail at their insurrection attempt. And so that is something that I'm worried about. That is a big, big yikes. Again, if only there was something that could have done about it. All right. I got one more quick story. I know I'm way over here today, but let's do it. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently spoke out against Texas Governor Greg Abbott's new anti-abortion bill. So now Abbott recently went out and defended this disgusting ban and dismissed concern that the law would prohibit, which prohibits abortions after 6 weeks, went into effect last week, would force survivors of rape or incest to carry pregnancies to term. The Republican governor said they had at least 6 weeks to get an abortion and claimed that he would, quote, eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas. Ah, yes. Somehow, he's going to be the guy to get rid of rape. Wait, if you could get rid of rape, why didn't you already do so? Why is Texas not completely rape-free now? I mean, you obviously knew that this was a problem before this abortion ban. Why didn't you do something about it? Weird. Are they now going to, now that they think that this is actually a problem? I know. Wow, a little late. Are they going to now launch a war on rape? You know, because the war on crime and the war on drugs and the war on terror worked really well at ending drugs, crime, and terror. Besides, you want to tell that to all the rape kits that are sitting in police stations all over the country, while cops choose to go after black people for walking down the street holding an iced tea in a suspicious manner? Come on. Sure. So now, AOC, in an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, talked about this, and she pretty much tore into Governor Abbott here. Take a look.
I'm sorry we have to break it down on, break down biology 101 on national television. But in case no one has informed him before in his life, 6 weeks pregnant means 2 weeks late for your period. And 2 weeks late on your period for any person with a menstrual cycle can happen if you're stressed, if your diet changes, or for really no reason at all. So you don't have 6 weeks. That's first things first. The second area of this, when he talks about going after rapists and this language of that he uses about getting rapists off the streets, the majority of people who are raped and who are sexually assaulted are assaulted by someone that they know. And these aren't just predators that are walking around the streets at night. They are people's uncles, they are teachers, they are family friends. And when something like that happens, it takes a very long time, first of all, for any victim to come forward. And second of all, when a victim comes forward, they don't necessarily want to bring their case into the carceral system. This idea that we're going to, quote unquote, end rape when the same type of, frankly, rape culture and the same type of misogynistic culture that informed this abortion law to begin with is also, those beliefs are held by the governor himself and this Texas state legislature. Frankly, there are many people in power, as we know from the Me Too movement, that commit sexual assault, that help their friends cover up these crimes. And some of them even serve in the same state legislatures that are voting on these these anti-choice bills. It's awful. And he speaks from such a place of deep ignorance and it's not just ignorance, it's ignorance that is hurting people across this country.
Oh, look, there's no part of her answer that I can disagree with. Yeah, she pretty much nails it on the head. And understand, like, this bill, that's why this is so bad. All these different reasons. It doesn't actually eliminate abortion, by the way. That's not even the goal, the stated goal of this. Yes, they claim, oh no, it's to limit abortion. We're very, very pro-life. Yes, that's it. Okay, but when people are born, then what? No medical, no medical insurance for you. No food stamps for you. We don't like that. Also, we're very pro-war, so that's cool. Also, don't get vaccinated, don't wear a mask, all that stuff. Look at how pro-life we are. Aren't we massively pro-life because we protect the fetus? No, complete and total hypocrisy. And by the way, you know, as she noted, 6 weeks you don't even know. You don't even know. I'm really, really tired of seeing, and let's be honest, guys who look like me, I'll be honest, or much, much older than me, making decisions about women's health care. That's not your decision to make. That is a woman's decision to make. You should trust women enough to allow them to make their own decisions. Like, what are we, the Taliban? Because I don't want to be in that world. I don't want to live in that world. I don't want my, mother to live in that world. I don't want my wife to live in that world. I don't want my female friends to live in that world. That's not where we want to be. That's not where we should be. We should make sure to enshrine the rights, reproductive freedom for all women. And so, and by the way, again, this is not about freedom, or this is not about, I should say, protecting life. It is about control. It's about taking away women's freedom based on your stupid religion. And I say stupid religion because it's not even the correct interpretation of that religion. It's your stupid, twisted version of it. Abortion is in the Bible, and guess what? It's pro-abortion. Tells you how to do it. Tells you to do it if you believe that your, wife is cheating on you. So let's be honest about that, all right? And so again, it's not going to even eliminate abortions either. It's just going to eliminate safe abortion. There's going to be more dead women, poor women, because of course rich women can just leave. They can leave the state and they can go get an abortion somewhere else. Republicans and their mistresses will still be able to get their abortions. Remember Scott Desjardins, and they have the means. But the others, poor women, women of color, those people are not going to be able to get abortions. And by the way, as she mentioned, menstruating person. So transgender people, non-binary people tend to get left out of this conversation, but their health matters too. Anybody with a uterus could be able to have control over their own uterus, over their own body, without some guy telling them, what they should be doing with it. And so this is, again, this bill is an assault on women's freedom. She's absolutely right in calling them out. Again, this isn't about biology. It's about trying to control women and their own choices. And we need to fight back against it. And it's a shame that the Supreme Court decided not to invalidate this law. It is clearly unconstitutional. It does effectively ban abortion in the state of Texas, making it so difficult for people to be able to do it, and even allows these people to collect bounties on women. I mean, what kind of situation is going on in Texas? It's horrifying. I'm just wondering when we're going to start airlifting women out of Texas, like we were doing with Afghanistan. I mean, that doesn't seem to be far off. It's disastrous. And so, yes, we absolutely need to fight back and make sure this law eventually gets struck down. Deeply unconstitutional and deeply anti-freedom. Also anti-life. All right. That's it. That's all I got. Thank you for running on the Nation Meet today. Again, apologies for the super long show. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Let's see. Super chats here. See if I got any. Got a couple. Cool. Lee Spanner, thank you for the very kind $2. Trevor Watson, Jeff, I'm in the hospital going down for surgery in about an hour. Hopefully we'll be seeing you Friday. Yes, Trevor, good luck. Surgery. Hopefully it's nothing serious. And hopefully you recover quickly. And yes, I should be here on Friday. Virginia Thomas, aka I Stragman, says, I like to think that I'm a compassionate person, but I'm starting to be like Charles Carlin and say that these people thinking just thins the herd. You know what I love about Carlin? He never punched down. That's what I like. And he was right on the nose on so many of the issues today. Oh, wonder what he'd say today. Jeez. All right. Thank you all for those very kind super chats. Let's see. Surfer Girl Gritty, thank you for resubbing it for a month at tier 1. Appreciate that. Mike from PV, thank you for the follow. All right. Thank you all. We're going to raid in here too. We're going to do we haven't done an Antifada raid in a while, so why don't we do that? So raid into the Antifada here on Twitch. We'll start that. Thank you all. Love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, change begins with you. Night, everybody.
Are you taking me up? Please clap.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Amazing.
There's some whores in this house.
Are you kicking me out the door? You're kicking me out the door.